Hello again. We left our little vineyard in Everett. We're down in the wine cellar. Just want to show you these two carboys. This is the first bunch of grapes I picked in that little vineyard in Everett. All the sugar has fermented out. I added a little bit. I added 2 bunches of red grapes to give it some color. This is the second batch I picked. Again, these grapes don't all ripen at the same time, so sometimes you have to pick them as they ripen, ferment them, put them to the side. Eventually they're all going to be blended together. Today we're going to work with this vat, so if you can get a picture of that. These were picked on Friday. Today is Monday. I let them sit a little bit longer than usual with the white grape. You have a choice as a winemaker. You can pick white grapes and crush them right away. You can let them sit overnight. You can let them sit a couple days. I let these sit a couple days because I thought they were in good condition. I wanted to get a little more flavor from the skins and the stems. So now I'm going to put them into this wine press over here, a small wine press. Are you filming now?
Yeah.
Alright, so put the camera in here. So I'm putting everything in the press. Even this juice that's in this bucket, I'm going to pass it through the press so it goes through and acts like a sieve. And I just tasted some. I'll measure the sugar pretty soon. When I picked this, it was 10.5% alcohol, which, if all the sugar ferments out, we'll have a 10.5% alcohol glass of wine. But I added a little bit of sugar to this because I wanted to get it to 12. So, whoa, the juice is really flowing out like crazy, so you've got to have a couple of pots. And it's always good to have a few people helping you. Some of my friends are going to be arriving pretty soon, or so they say, but they usually show up when it's time to make wine. If I ask them to come and help me fix the house or something's broken, they don't show up, but to make wine, they're all here. So can you get this, Ilya?
Yeah.
So there's a demijohn and a big funnel, and on top of the funnel is a pretty thin sieve, so I catch all the skins and seeds, pulp. I guess I should close the radio, but that's a pretty good song. Change. That's what we're doing here. We're changing the grape into wine. And the sieve will get full of that pulp and skins and so on. Just slam it in the barrel over there. And clean it up. So we get a little bit more. You'll get a shot inside this barrel. At this point now, it gets a little difficult just to get the stems and the skins and the seeds and so on. So I just scoop it out like this. Gonna make a little bit of a mess, but that's to be expected. So I always have a mop so to clean the floor. You don't want any juice to stay on the floor for a long time because that's when you get fruit flies, and fruit flies can bring disease to the wine. Winemaking is a lot of fun. I'm going to fill the demijohn about 3/4 full. I hope I get 3/4 full. I'm going to let it sit overnight, and tomorrow I'm going to rack it. And when I rack it tomorrow, all the sediment will be at the bottom. It'll be very organic. I've already racked these a couple of times. There's still a little bit of sediment on the bottom. Can you get that? I don't know if you can see that pretty good or not. Very little. And there's very little in this gallon as well because I've already racked them a couple of times. You want to get rid of that organic sediment, especially with white wine, as soon as possible. This will finish fermenting now with a little bit of sediment. That won't hurt. It's good to have a towel surrounding your demijohn, so if any of the juice splatters, it splatters onto the towel, and then you can just wash it up.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of time to do this. But we have that expression, we drink no wine before it's time. And it's time. Ah. If you do decide to make wine in your own home, you need space, especially if you're going to work with grape. If you don't have space, you can go and buy must or juice. Somebody's already done all the work for us. And actually a must might make a better glass of wine, but it's not as much fun as working with grape. And you can't work too fast with this. You gotta give the grape time. When the juice starts coming out, you can give it a break. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit further. Yeah, and then let the juice draw out. Don't keep going. You don't want to force it too much. You might need a hammer to straighten out these pieces of wood. They get a little crooked. It's good to keep them aligned. I like to use my dad's masonry hammer. Speaking of stems, when you make white wine, you have to leave the stems in, because if there were no stems in here, it would take forever for this juice to come out. It starts to get a little more acidic. And what's good about using backyard wine grapes is that they're high in total acidity. And a high total acidity in a fermentation barrel means that there's not going to be too much spoilage. We'll talk about the California grapes in a while. These two fermentation barrels right here are full of California grapes, and we'll show them to you in a few seconds. But the disadvantage of backyard grapes is that they can be low in sugar. The advantage is that they're high in total acidity. You can always add sugar. I don't like to add acid. And I'm not going to squeeze too much juice out of this because I'm going to make some grappa with the pomace. So I'll probably press maybe 10 more minutes and then put the pomace back into the fermentation barrel, add a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of sugar, let it sit another week so it finishes fermenting, and then make some grappa. Piscia, piscia, zia me. And before you use your press, it's good to disinfect it or sterilize it. And you can do that by just mixing 6 level tablespoons of potassium metabisulfite in a gallon of water. Dissolve it, and then you just pour some in a bowl like this with a cloth and wipe everything down so it's clean. So we're almost, wow, got a little more than I thought we would. We're 3/4 full. I can't fill it to the top because I'm afraid it'll continue fermenting and it'll spill over. But I can go 3/4 because it shouldn't ferment too much. And I can get a little more in there. And then I'm not going to put a fermentation lock on it now. This is a fermentation lock right here. It allows, wine is organic, so it's always alive. It's not like vinegar or cognac. So you can see the fermentation cap here is popping. That's because some gas is in here, wants to come out, and we don't want any air or fruit flies to get in. Yeah, so we pressed the grapes. They were about up to here. Remember, I think you saw that with us. Now we've pressed halfway down. We got enough juice out. It's going to be pretty dry at the top. So yeah, like this. There's not too much juice left in there. The bottom is going to be a little wet. So When I used to make this with my dad, he used to make me break this down like 3 or 4 times and keep getting all the juice out. But I'm gonna save the juice in here, put it back in the fermentation barrel as we said before, and we're gonna make grappa with it on Sunday. All right, Lester, come on, let's break this down, baby.
Okay.
You in rolling?
Yeah.
So these are the 2 fermentation barrels we showed you earlier. They have grapes from California in them. We picked these grapes up on Thursday of last week. And if you put a thermometer, as soon as I bring them home and crush them right away. Some people let them sit in their house and warm up. I don't like doing that because where they make wine in the wine grape growing regions, they pick the grapes and they crush them right away. So that's what I like to do. If you put a thermometer in there right after you crush them and pick them up at the produce center, you're going to get they're going to be 40 degrees. And that's really cold. They won't ferment. So I put a space heater. I put a space heater between my 2 fermentation barrels. I bring the temperature of the room up to 70 and I let it sit like that for a few days until it starts fermenting. And then once it starts fermenting, the yeasts convert the sugar to alcohol, and without getting all into the chemical terms, it's going to form a cap. So can you put the camera in here and show this? This is like the cap. It's pretty thick, and it's all the skins, the seeds. You can put your hands in there, it's good for you. It'll stain your fingernails. And you got to break this at least 2 times a day, because if you don't, bacteria will grow in here, and you don't want that to happen. So I like to put on I like to put on a shirt where I can get my arms really messy, because you want to break this. If you push down on one end, the other end will come up. So can you catch that? See? Yeah, no, just let it go. I want to see how this end comes up when you push this end down. There you go. And now you want to break all of this up. So this has to go all the way down to the bottom. And you can lose your breath when you do this. Because, yeah, without going into the chemical terms again. So you might want to take a deep breath. Hold it, and then go down there and mix it all up, and it's really a lot of fun. Yeah.
And then it looks like you have blood.
Oh, yeah. I look like a monster from the Blue Lagoon or something, the Red Lagoon. Yeah. You're going to smell rotten egg. That's a natural byproduct of the fermentation process, so don't worry about it. That's all going to go away. I'm going to measure the sugar in a little bit. And if it's 6%, 4%, I'm going to press these grapes tomorrow. This is the time of the year when the grape is the boss. So you tell your other boss to go to hell, and you listen to the grape. If the grape tells you to press, you press. So you got to break up this cap and you got to stir it. You're going to get a lot of foam, and that's okay. A fermentation barrel of this size can ferment 12 36-pound boxes of grapes. If you put 14 in here, you're going to have a flood. So will you remove the towel from the other barrel there, Joey? No, right there to my left there's another fermentation barrel. Just remove that towel that's on top. I'm going to swing over. And again, I've probably said this 100 times, but it can be said 100 more times. Try to keep the floor as clean as you can. Have a towel, a mop ready so you can, and the same thing here. You can see in there pretty well. You got that picture earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real pretty color. That barrel that we just pressed down has 11 Barbera and 1 Alicante. Alicante doesn't have much flavor, but it adds a lot of deep color. This barrel has 4 Cabernet Sauvignon, 4 Giovese, 3 Merlot, and 1 Alicante. And the same thing, if you press down this side, the other end will come up. And it's good to do that so you get one side down, get the middle down, get the ends down. Joe, you can get your hands in here too if you want.
Yeah.
I'll go.
There is a person that Alejandro mentioned.
Not me. I'm not that style.
Wow. But the most important thing is just break up this cap so there's no bacteria forming in it.
Right.
And you're safe. And I hope tomorrow these can be pressed. Wow. That is exciting. Madonna mia. How does that smell?
Good.
Yeah, it smells good, right?
Yeah.
Really good.
After you mix up the grapes, it kind of smells good.
Yeah, but at first it's strong, right?
Yeah, first it's really strong.
Yeah.
And then it gets light.
You can put the towels back on, Joey, if you want.
Yep.
Oh, we got everybody doing something. What's the bottom of that thing like?